Yes, people, welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all well. We are back with not a roundup show this evening because there's no Premier League football to round up. So we're going to do a transfer roundup as the January transfer window door just quietly creeped to a close last night at 11 o'clock. We're going to go through most of the relevant clubs that have done some business, and I know I can just imagine all of the sarcastic comments coming from West Ham fans saying, here we go, here's the first one. Farmer Chris, thank you very much. Transfer roundup. This should be a very short video. Obviously we couldn't have just done it on West Ham because it would be very short, and we did that last night. So we're going to be going through all of the relevant Premier League clubs that have done just a little bit of business and giving them a rating out of 10. Let's jazz things up a bit, giving their transfer business a rating out of 10. Hope you are well. Josh's granddad and the boys, hope you're well. Hope you are well as well. Right, Josh, firstly, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I'm sure you're happy with your business, unlike some of us. But Sean, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Not too bad at all, buddy.
Good. Let's see who else we've got in the chat. JJ, hope you are well. I'm disappointed, but we'll keep the faith and trust the process. Indeed. Still frustrated, big missed opportunity. It is Kent, but we will get on to West Ham later on because West Ham are W and it's right at the bottom of this list. So we're going to skip past Arsenal because they did nothing relevant. And let's go straight on to your club, Josh, Aston Villa. So I'll just run through it. So the players you brought in: Callum Chambers from Arsenal, Robin Olsen on loan, Lucas Dean from Everton, and of course Philip Coutinho from Barcelona. Firstly, talk us through your feelings for those 4 players that you brought in January.
Yeah, I think it's all good business. The only one that didn't make too much sense was Callum Chambers. I knew that we were needing an extra centre back, but I probably would have got someone a little bit better than that. Even though they're probably going to be back up, would have got one a lot younger and a bit better, but I'll take it. It's not too bad. And then we've got Olsen as well. He's just a good backup keeper if anything happens to Martinez. And the other 2, we don't need to speak too much about. They're just quality players. And we needed it. So I think I said it last week when I was on. I'd love it if we signed a midfielder, a defensive midfielder, if that's what we need. But obviously we couldn't get one. But hopefully in the summer we can, and I think we should be fine to the end of the season. But yeah, overall it's definitely been a good window. Definitely one of the best ones in the league. And yeah, it's been 4 signings, was it? So yeah, very good window.
Yeah, for sure. I would be happy if I'm in your shoes. There we go. Wave for JJ. Everton transfers business. I've made up 7 out of 10. There we go. Jeremy, hope you are well. Hydrate very hard time these family supporters. Yes, it's a little bit gutting and frustrating, but you've had plenty go out the door as we discussed earlier on. I'm not going to run through them all because we'd be here all night. 13 players, I believe, have gone out of the door this window for Aston Villa. Was that a bit of a surprise, Josh, or do you think that was much needed?
Yeah, I don't think it was that many actual first team players. I think it was a lot of the young ones. I know Jed Steer, or original backup goalie, who sent him out on loan. I think that's one of the ones that doesn't make a lot of sense. He's 28. If you're going to get rid of him, sell him, don't loan him out. He's 28. I don't understand that. But yeah, we got him out. Matt Target, another one, which I didn't think made too much sense either. I thought we should have kept him as backup. If anything happens to Digne, we're stuck with Ashley Young at left back for the rest of the season. Yeah, I think El Ghazi to Everton, that made quite a bit of sense. I thought he wasn't getting any game time. And the rest are all youngsters, really. A few of them I didn't know about, to be honest. But yeah, nothing really too noteworthy. But yeah, the only dodgy ones I thought was Target to Newcastle. I wouldn't have done that. No backup fullbacks now, except for Ashley Young, who probably can't play every game because of his age. So if anything happens to him now, he's out for the season. Ashley Young's got to play every game, and I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in that. I definitely would have kept Target. And we have no backup right back for Matty Cash. So yeah, that's a dodgy one. But yeah, it's a good window overall.
Yeah. Sean, a brief summary of what you think Villa have done and give us a rating out of 10 for their business.
The Matty Target one surprised me a little bit. I thought he was still getting plenty of game time at Villa, if I'm honest with you. Digne, the fullback, I think, I know fans of most clubs, but Everton fans were telling me his form had dipped off a little bit for the last season, and it's probably just, sometimes a player just needs to change, don't they? So I think he's a good fullback. I think Everton in general have fallen off the cliff, haven't they? And I think he was falling with them. So I think that was a good buy. Coutinho speaks for itself. Gerrard knows what he's doing. If I was giving it a mark out of 10, like you said, it'd be one of the better ones out of all the Premier League, wouldn't you? So let's start with an 8. Give him an 8. Let's go that high.
Yeah. And to finish things off, Josh, your rating out of 10?
Yeah, I'd also give it an 8. If we signed a midfielder, maybe we would have kept Target. It would have been the perfect window. I would have given it a 10. But I think I'm going to give it an 8 because it was a good window. We made all the right signings. Just a few of the sales were a bit dodgy.
Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, I'll top things off with 3 8s. Definitely one of the better ones in this window. Kent agrees with an 8. He says Villa get an 8. Got rid of some, and added very well. Improved the squad to Villa push on for Europe next season. Defensive midfielder and a striker needed. Villa. Oh, where's that gone there? Grandad says Villa should never have got Luca Dean off Rafa. Bit of a nightmare there, I think. This window has done for any chance we had of keeping hold of Declan. I think you're bang on there. Trev Tube, hope you're doing well. Chambers can play right back, so maybe you can slot in there if you have got no right backs, Josh. Ashley Young is a really ironic name. That man has been nearly 40 forever. Yeah, plenty of people going 8 for Villa, so we will leave that one at 8. Right, then let's move on down the list then. So Brentford next, and we're going to come to you for this one, Sean. Players in, Lursel, I think he's the keeper. Of course, the big one, Christian Eriksen, Hans, Mapongo, and Deji Satana. So that's another 4 players in. Of course, the big headline there, Christian Eriksen to Brentford. What do you make of that, Sean?
Yeah, I was chatting to Brentford Clive briefly the other day. To be honest, I haven't heard of any of the ones other than Eriksen who've come in, so I couldn't tell you if they're kids back up, but usually if you don't recognise them, they're one or the other, aren't they? Clive tells me they've probably left themselves a little bit short at the back, I think he told me, because they've really let a few go, have they, as well? They let 3 or 4 go?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously Eriksen's the main one. Obviously, he must have done the medical test. I'm really pleased that he's back in the game. I think it's probably, I've heard an interview about 3 or 4 months ago. I think it's a little bit of a swan song farewell trip to get him fit for the World Cup. Right, I did hear he said he wants to get to the World Cup and he wants to, I can't remember the name of the stadium, but he collapsed actually in his home city, didn't he, in Copenhagen? It was Denmark's home game in the Euro. So I think his aim is to get to the World Cup and have a game in that stadium again. And the way he was telling it just sounded like almost like a little bit of a farewell sort of tour. I'm glad he's back. I don't know how much he's going to play. I don't know. You wouldn't want to risk it too much, would you? Even though he's passed all the tests, and it's a perfect club for him. I think. I'm not sure if they've got Danish owners, a Danish manager. There's quite a lot of Danish connection there, so it suits everyone. I can't see him starting every week and playing behind Tony, like a lot of people may want him to. But I'm glad this happened. I think he'll be managed suitably. Brentford, along with a lot of clubs, it's hard to do business. A lot of fans are having little meltdowns. I'll say this bit by bit when I get my chance, but I think clubs and fans are having a bit of meltdown, not liking it. It's tough. There's not a lot of money around. Certain clubs won't want to do deals with rivals. You know what I mean? If you're in a scrap down the bottom, you're not going to strengthen a rival. Just like United wouldn't even consider letting Lingard go to West Ham again. Not a hope in hell. Do you know what I mean? So it's not easy. It's probably I think it's the second record spend in January, but I think it's also probably one of the toughest. If you take away City's and Liverpool's buys, and Newcastle chucking money about, it's not as good as it looks. But yeah, I think Brentford would be happy they got a star name. I don't think it changes their season much. I think they'll probably just stay up. But I'm glad to see Eriksen back anyway.
Yeah. Josh, can you give a rating out of 10 for Brentford's transfer business?
It'd probably have to be a 6 or a 7 because, like Sean said, I haven't heard of anyone else apart from Eriksen they signed. I think that Lair is he a goalie? I think he sounds familiar.
I think he used to play for Everton. I think.
Yeah, I'm sure
Everton
he
springs
went
to mind,
but didn't really play much. And I think it was Huddersfield he used to be at when they were in the Premier League.
That's it, Huddersfield.
Somewhere like that. I think he's just been brought in as backup. I don't know, maybe he's like I don't really watch Brentford games, but I think just because I haven't really heard of any others, it'd probably have to be a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sean, before we move on, quick rating.
I'll give him a 5. I don't
know,
only because that's some players you haven't heard of. The best keeper's injured, and so they brought him in this one as a bit of cover. Eriksen, if he start, how many games left? 15, 16. If he starts 10 of them and you get a good 70 minutes of the game, I'll give more than 5. But just bringing in Eriksen, who might be a bit of a novelty, I don't know. So yeah, they're right down the bottom. If I was their fans, I might want 1 or 2 more. So yeah, I'll go with 5.
Let's head into the chat and see what you guys are saying. Brentford get a 7 purely because Eriksen signed he can feed Tony. Probably 7-ish. Simon, hope you're well. You're not early, but we haven't got to Chelsea yet, so we'll get to Chelsea in a second. Even if they've done anything, I don't know if they've done anything. 6. Frank is Danish. Like 6.5 at a 7. Oh. So Simon's getting a curry tonight. Let's go chicken madrasa pilau rice. So you've gone for the higher end of the spiciness. I like. With 6 poppadoms. Fair enough. Why not? Why not 7? I would say, but 6, fair enough. With mango chutney, I like it. Right, we're going to swiftly move past Brighton because they haven't done much and move on to Burnley. Now, I tried to get Dan on tonight, but he is elsewhere, so we're going to have to do this on our own tonight. And Josh, coming to you then. Burnley, they've brought in one player, Wout Weghorst, quite a good striker for £12 million from Wolfsburg. Players coming out, the only recognisable one, of course, is Chris Wood going to Newcastle for £25 million. Now, I'll just say this first. How this works, I don't know. They've got rid of Chris Wood for £25 million. They've spent £12 million on a better striker. So so at the end of this window, they've got a better striker and they've saved themselves 13 million quid. I mean, it's smart business, Josh.
Yeah, I've said it is smart business or anything about that, but like, is he better? You could say, because I don't think he's ever played in the Premier League before. No. I'm not sure, but I think from what I've heard, he has done well in Germany. So if it works for him, then yeah, it's great business. But Wood to Newcastle, I thought was a weird one. You don't really see teams selling players to like relegation rivals. I thought that was a weird one, but he's a good signing, Weghorst. I did say I'm not sure if he's as good as Wood. I think he will be, because he's from what I've heard, he was good in the Bundesliga for Wolfsburg. He's played Champions League football, so I think he should. If they need someone to bang in the goals, if they're going to try and stay up, so I think it's a good signing. But they haven't really done much apart from that. So yeah, it's just I'd probably give them again. It'd have to be. It is smart business, like you said, but it's the only business they've done, isn't it? So it could. I don't want to keep saying a 6 or a 7, but
carry on.
It's probably just going to be a 7 because it is good business, but that's the only thing they've done.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Let's take some comments before we get Sean's rating then. I agree with Kent here. Burnley get 8, made a profit and arguably got a better striker to fit their system. I agree. You'd have to give Burnley a 5, lost Wood, but got Weghorst. JC, hope you're keeping well, my friend. I think Weghorst and Wood are probably similar standing strikers. Wood's goals per game were actually really good. So, Sean, quick fire. Before we move on, can you give Burnley a rating out of 10?
Quickly, again, the money they made, the 30 million profit, they probably needed that. Clubs are on their backside after COVID, it seems to me. All they've done is a like for like, really, haven't they? Maybe improved it a little bit. So I'd probably go 5 again, only because they're bottom at the moment, aren't they? They bottom, Burnley.
I think so. Yeah.
So they're bottom. And you do a like for like in January. Now, you West Ham fans are having a cry because you're 4th and haven't got a backup striker. Do you know what I mean? So if you flip it, they're bottom and all they've done is a like for like. Would you be at, what would you? If that was West Ham and you're bottom and you did that in a January window, what would you rate them?
Wow, it's a very good point actually. It's in kind of terms of tables. I think it's smart because they got a better striker in the end. And they've saved £13 million, and we all know that the Burnley board don't like to spend money. But yeah, I would have definitely liked to see more.
Clubs will need that 13 million now as well. So I'm not knocking them for that because, as I'm going to say a few times here, I imagine, a lot of clubs have not got a lot of money, and a lot of clubs have been wages stripping in this window. No doubt about that at all. It's going to take a few years for clubs to recover. A club like Burnley, who aren't fashionable, I don't imagine they get a lot of revenue other than what the Premier League gives them each season. Up there, that 13 million will come in very handy. Even so, they're bottom of the Premier League. That 13 million won't be any good next year in the Championship. So I'll stick with a 5.
Yeah. Before we carry on, though, make sure you do drop a like on the video, subscribe to West Ham Official if you want to. We're going to have a 15-second breather. Check out our channel sponsors, SRM Carver and Son, by clicking the link in the description down below. Have a drink, and we'll see you in 15 seconds. If I press the video clip. Our fantastic channel sponsor here on West Ham Unofficial are SRM Carver and Son. SRM Carver and Son provides crushing, screening and aggregate recycling services across southern England. If you'd like to find out more information on SRM, please click the link in the description down below to check out more information on their website. Thank you very much to SRM Carver and Son for sponsoring West Ham Unofficial, and come on, your irons. Crikey, I look different now. I think I filmed that about 4 months ago. Oh my lord. Trev Tube says I give Burnley 6 poppadoms out of 10. No chutney though. Fair enough. I would have took Weghorst at West Ham. So would I have done for sure. Right then, Simon, if you're still watching, don't take any offence to this, but we're going to skip past Chelsea because you did absolutely nothing except from get rid of 4 young players. Crystal Palace. I don't think there's really any need to talk about them. They bought in Philippe Mateta, a decent striker, but apart from that, nothing really to note. And let's move on to one club that we are going to talk about, and it's Everton. And it's time to go to you, Sean. So they've bought in a geezer called Mikalenko, Nathan Patterson, Anwar El Ghazi from Villa, Donny van der Beek from Man United, of course, you want to talk about that, and Dele Alli from Spurs, and also Billy Crellin from Fleetwood. So plenty to discuss there, especially along the lines of Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli. Fire away, Sean.
Well, obviously, Fat Frank went into the job right on deadline day, didn't he, as well? Apparently, as soon as he went in, he told the board that he wanted Dele Alli. So that... And then Van der Beek. I don't know about the others, so I'll just cover these 2. Everton in the last couple of years have chucked around silly money on wild gambles, and I couldn't tell you where half the money's gone now. But I think that's 2 very, very shrewd deadline day deals right there. Van der Beek on loan, I think that's brilliant work. That is, I think if Man United were willing to loan to West Ham, I'm sure you'd have took him in a flash. He'd be like another Lingard or a better version. That would be a no-brainer. But again, these clubs like that, if they're going to loan out players or even sell players, they're going to pick and choose. So they're happy to loan out Van der Beek to Everton. Lingard, only a few months left on your deal. You're going nowhere. Dele Alli, well, it's been a sad day for Tottenham fans, him going, really, because for about 3 seasons he had the world at his feet. And I'm not exaggerating at that. He was being touted as 100 million going to Real Madrid at one point. But, I don't know if you can remember about this far, but when he was between the age of about 19 and 21, he had like that cheeky swagger on the pitch. Like, he didn't care. He'd go to Stamford Bridge, head 2 in as a 19-year-old and goad the crowd. He wouldn't care if he was up against the best centre midfielder in the world. He scored 2 goals in the Burnabout, Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? He had that arrogance. Didn't go over the line, but opposition fans hated him. But that arrogance sometimes a winner needs. But that mentality in his 3-4 season where he was class, I think his goals and assists was better than anything of like Gerrard's or Lampard's in the same position. When the Pochettino era come to an end, I think he might have looked at Pochettino as like almost like a father figure. I know he's had a not the best upbringing, and Pochettino looked after him. And when the Pochettino era was coming to an end, like a few other players, his form dipped off. And chucking 3 hamstring injuries in 18 months, 3 or 4 managers in succession of about 3 years. Do you know what I mean? He struggled and struggled and struggled. So I'm really pleased with him. He's got us moved. He's done a brilliant farewell to the club. I think the deal is quite an incredible one for Everton anyway. I don't know if you've got it in front of you, but Tottenham have given away on a free.
Yeah.
So he was rated up around one of the best young talents in the world football for only 4 years ago. And he's only 24, 25 now. So he's gone on a free on a 2.5-year deal. When he plays, I think it's 20 games, Tottenham get 20 million. And if he goes up to 18 within the contract length, Tottenham get 40 million. And if it's a bit shorter than that, so I think Tottenham will get anywhere between, I think actually 15 million, I think it was. So it could be between 15 and 40 million, depends how many games he plays. But again, I'm going to keep going back on it. This is your modern sort of transfer. The days of someone whacking in a £50 million bid will pay you 25 now, 25 in January. The money's not around for that anymore. And clubs can't hang around for that fantasy offer. So little deals like this, or I listened to Michael on your shows last night. He called a loan to buy move a cheapskate move. It ain't. That is how a lot of clubs now have got to buy and sell. And it works both ways. You might have to loan him for 6 months and then you get an obligation to buy or an option to buy. That's going to be the way forward, at least for a few years, whilst clubs are trying to balance the books. I'm sure a lot of clubs are already looking forward to getting their big lump sum from the Premier League at the end of the season. They're almost dragging their heels until that check clears in the bank. So yeah, I think Everton done brilliant. I'd probably give them. What did I give Villa? An 8. I'll give Everton a 7.5, just behind.
Yeah, Josh. Of course, you have gained off of Everton's transfer business. What's your rating for Everton out of 10?
Yeah, I'd probably give them a 7. Not quite a 7.5, because I think this, like Milenko and Patterson, the first 2 they brought in, they were Rafa's signings. So, and it was weird the way they give Rafa the money to sign 2 players, and about a week later they sacked him, because that now Lampard's come in and might not like them 2 players, and they've only just come. That's the weird thing. I know for against Villa, Patterson wasn't even in the squad when Duncan was the manager. So that's the only thing. I know Anwar Ghazi is well known for Villa. I didn't think was the smartest, but Van der Beek and Dele Alli I thought were really good signings. If Lampard can get the best out of Dele Alli, I remember that. Do you remember that goal he scored against Crystal Palace where he flicked it over the player's head and volleyed it into the bottom corner? That was 6 years ago now, and that's just unbelievable. I remember that, and that was when he was really breaking through, and he was one of the best players in the Premier League. So I don't think anyone is ever going to get back to that level, but if he can get to 50% of the player that he was the other year, then this next 6 months, then I think he's still going to do well. That Everton have done well with it, so I think it's a good sign. And Van der Beek, Man United haven't really used him too much, but if he's going to be playing week in, week out for Everton, maybe Lampard by now have to get the best out of him. So they're two good signings, but I thought the El Ghazi one was a bit dodgy, and the other two I'm not quite sure on yet, so I'm going to give them a 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Before we get Sean's rating, let's see what's going on in the chat. No offense taken, terrible window for Chelsea. Ali will go one of two ways. Hopefully works out for him and he can get back close to where he was. The manager is the most important signing of the transfer window for me. I give Everton a biryani rating. I've got no idea what that means, Trev Tube, if I'm being honest with you. 7.5. You get a lot for your money, but a bit bland. Kent says Everton considered window 7, but Everton got a lot of dead wood to get rid of. The new owner spent £500 million and mostly wasted it. Hopefully now for Everton fans, times have changed. Yeah, I mean, they wasted, was it 40 million on Iwobi or something? I mean... Poor them. Dylan, hope you're keeping well, my friend. 8, Cyber Leader, hope you are well. Ali, a waste of money, just lazy. We'll have to wait and see. Pete, hope you're keeping well as well. When Kent says when Ali was playing just behind Kane, linking up, he was on fire. 3 years, he has been awful. Right, quick fire before we move on. Sean, your rating for Everton, or did you give it?
I went 7.5.
7.5. Yeah, perfect. My new rating system teaching Jake about VR. Fair enough. Right. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna skip past Leeds United because they did nothing. We are going to skip past Leicester because they did nothing. And we're going to move on to Liverpool. They did a little bit. Josh, coming to you, they brought in Luis Diaz from Porto, and the main outgoing was Nat Phillips, out on a loan until the rest of the season to AFC Bournemouth. What have you made of their transfer activity?
Yeah, I don't know too much about this Luis Diaz. All I know about him is off FIFA, so I don't really know much about him in real life. I think he got him from Porto. I'm sure he was linked with Spurs before he come to Liverpool. But I think it's a good signing because Salah and Mane are they're not getting old, but they're 28, 29, approaching 30. So, and if they won't have them forever, and I know they're struggling to give Salah a new contract, so he's a good long-term replacement for them. And the backup that they have to Mane and Salah, apart from Jota, I don't think it's too good. Origi I've never rated. And Minamino is not that good either. So, yeah, I think it's a good signing. Nat Phillips going out on loan to Bournemouth. I know we were linked with him. I probably would have rather had him than Chambers because from what I saw of him last season, I thought Phillips looked quite good. So as a backup, I would have rather had him than Chambers probably. But, I think Championship, you'll get game time every week there. And maybe you might get, if he helps him to get promotion, then you might get another loan move or a transfer in the Premier League next season, because I don't think he's ever going to make it into Liverpool's first team. I know they were linked with some player from Fulham. That fell through in the end. I think if they got him, that would have been a bit better because he's meant to be quite a good young player. But I think Luis Diaz is a good player, but maybe they could have done a bit more. I know there's rumours of getting a midfielder, rumours of players like Jude Bellingham, I think would be a perfect fit for Liverpool. So, yeah, it was good. It said Luis Diaz was good. I think they also loaned out Nico Williams to Fulham, or did that fall through as well? Yeah, it did.
That went through, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a good window overall. I'm not sure. I don't want to keep giving 7s. So, I'm going to go with a 6.5 because...
6.5. Just mix things up a bit. I like it. Sean, you're rating for Liverpool's business.
But this is all my fault because last Wednesday I was showing YouTube videos of this player that might be joining Tottenham, my young lad. So, to be honest, what's his name? Is it Diaz? Luis Diaz?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, when Liverpool been linked for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden Tottenham making a bid, I couldn't really remember. So I might do a bit of searching. He scored a good goal against City in the Champions League. For Tottenham, it seemed like he's a very good player, but when a club does sort of like reactive bids, like he could be available, we're going to go in. That sort of worries me a little bit because he plays in the same position as where Son would play. He's very strong right-footed, but he plays on the left, so he likes to bomb down, tucks on the right foot, shot. So he's one of those sort of players, and we've already got one of them. So if we're bidding 30, 40, 50 million, which is the ballpark Liverpool have got him for, when we got other areas we need to strengthen, it seemed a bit quality player, but it just seemed a bit of just a wrong time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But Liverpool, the thing is, I said about not a lot of money around, but when you're one of the best clubs who goes right to the very end of all the tournaments, you're gonna come out with the most money. And obviously, they probably have one of the biggest turnovers in the world football. So COVID, I'm guessing, probably affects teams like that one of the least. And what they've done is when teams are at the very top, they get good recruitment when they don't necessarily need it. So now they've got another quality forward they've already got a quality front four as it is, with Jota getting better and better. So now that's effectively 5 very, very dangerous forwards they've got now. So if one or two gets moved on, maybe Salah doesn't re-sign. Maybe they think, right, Mane, let's shake it up and move him on. They've already got one there. So they've been very proactive. They've built the squad at the right time. This Carvalho at Fulham, I think that will almost definitely get done in the summer. I think they wouldn't surprise me if that's already tied up and it's just a case of they didn't have time to do the fine print, so that gets done. So see, when we're all chasing these top two, and then because Man City did, even though I haven't heard of the Man City lad was it River Plate they got him in?
Yeah.
They've gone and just chucked out another 25 million on attacking midfielder. So you think that these two teams can't get any better, and will anyone catch them? And they're just clever investing as well. They recruit quite clever and they invest clever. So, to be honest, it might sound a bit mad, but because Liverpool have done that, I'll probably give them a 7.5.
Fair enough.
It's one player, but as a football club, they've done exactly what a big club should do: not react when you're in panic mode, which a lot of them do, don't they? So I can't knock them. They've done it's very clever what they've done.
Let's have a look at some of your comments. And Kent says 7 for Liverpool frees up an opportunity to cash in on one of the front three and make a profit. Let's scroll down. You only need one. You only need one striker in the club. Well, that's what we got. We should bring Diego Costa in on a free. Got to be worth a gamble. Might it be? Might not. It's a controversial statement, Max. I don't know. Trev Tube says Liverpool is a kebab. Looks great, especially after a pint, but no one quite knows for sure what it's made of. Could turn out to be great, but you'll never know for sure until further on down the line. 6. That's a very well structured and a very good example of Liverpool's transfer business. I like it, Trev Tube. I like it. Liverpool also only have 25,000 season ticket holders, I believe, so they have a lot more money through tickets and merchandise from day trippers. That's a good point. There we go. So we've had the biryani rating, we're rating it out of food now from Trev Tube. Just what's next? We'll have to wait and see. Right, we're going to skip past a couple of clubs. We're going to skip past City. We're going to skip past United because I just don't want to talk about United because they annoy me. Newcastle's next, and Josh will come to you, bringing in Kieran Trippier, Chris Wood, Bruno Guimaraes, Matt Targett, and Dan Burn, which is pretty good business, wouldn't you agree, Josh?
Yeah, most of it is. Dan Burn is one of the dodgy ones. I think I thought they get a bit better now. He's not bad, but just with the money they've got, you think they'd be looking for younger ones. more young and up-and-coming ones than him. But till the end of the season, if he try and stay in the league, not too bad. But it's not the type of sign you'd expect him to make. Like, I didn't hear that many rumours before he got him. Chris Wood was also a weird one. But again, probably still a good player. And the rest of the business thought was quite good. Matt Target, that's a very good signing for him, for them. In my opinion, last season he was our player of the season. Solid at left back all season. This season hasn't been quite as good, but I'd still say he's been all right. And I think he should do well there. I hope they don't make a payment. I don't want to see him go. He's been a really good player for us since we bought him. So hopefully he does well. I think that's a really good signing. I know they brought in a defensive midfielder the other day from Leon, I think it was. Don't know too much about him, but he's meant to be a good young prospect, so he should be all right for them. Kieran Trippier, obviously the big one. Very good signing. They need them experienced players to try and stay in the league. And I can't think of two more. I've probably missed a load, but did you get that Diego Carlos in the end from Atletico Madrid or not?
I don't know. They didn't know. They got rid of Freddie Woodman. They loaned him out to Bournemouth. Matty Longstaff went. Jeff Hendrick went, but not much else happened. Let's have a rating, Josh, for Newcastle's transfer business.
It's difficult. There's definitely a lot more good signings than bad signings. I'd say there's two ones that I didn't think made too much sense. I'd say 8, but yeah, I'm going to give it an 8. I think they had no choice with the new owners coming in. Obviously, the richest club in the world now. If they want to stay up with the money they've got, just going to have to go out and spend it on proven good players. So I think they did the right thing. So I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah. Sean, your rating for the Geordies?
I think they probably did as much as they could. Even though they got all the money in the world, it was going to be tough for them to get players in. Look, again, I think Premier League clubs are a little bit wary of trying to strengthen them. I think if you ask the 19 other club, they'd probably want them to go down, wouldn't they? Let's be honest. And then you've got to try and attract the player. They might. Was it Guimarães they got from Leon? Probably their main one.
Yeah.
I would like to know what wages they're paying him to get him. I mean, Newcastle are in trouble. So, and Dan Burnley's a Newcastle lad, and so that was his boyhood club. So I think they've done as much as they could. And I probably, for that reason, I'd probably give them a 7. I just don't think it was easy for them, as what some people thought it would be. I'm surprised.
I agree.
I'm surprised they got Trippier. Put it that way.
Yeah, so am I. Getting better, Trev G1 in your West Ham rating. West Ham rating more than after a curry. 7 for Newcastle, 8 for Newcastle. Right, here we go. Trev Tube says, Newcastle window is an all-you-can-eat carvery. 7. Just keep going back up for more, as money is no object. Some tasty stuff in there, but does it mix well together? Fair play. These keep on coming. That is brilliant. Let's move on then. Who are we going to talk about next? Let's scroll down this long list. Right, next up is Norwich. They did nothing. They got rid of Jordan Hugill. Apart from that, not much else. Todd Cantwell went out on loan to Southampton. Not Southampton, Bournemouth, sorry. Southampton, speaking of Southampton, they got Willie Caballero on a free. Apart from that, not much else. Right, let's go on to Spurs. We'll keep it with Sean. Sean, fire away. Spurs' transfer window. Bought in Rodrigo Bentancur and Dejan something or other from Juventus on
Kuvalevsky. It's Kuvalevsky, is it?
There we go. Crack on then, Sean. Crack on.
Right, few ways of looking at it. Right, what you didn't mention was the outs, and that's possibly a little bit more of a story for Tottenham. We have loaned out 60 million pound player in Tanguy Ndombele. You know, I've wanted him out for a while. He's just not suited to the Premier League. It's terrible scouting. We've loaned out 35 million Giovanni Lo Celso. Again, injury all the time. Lightweight, starts every week for every game for Argentina. There we go. But apparently Lo Celso fell out with Conte. These are the players Conte. He was abruptly telling the journalist, "I've told the board what I want," and it was these names out basically. Okay, Dele Alli as well, gone on loan. Those three going in itself probably freed up close to 400 grand a week in wages.
Wait a minute now.
Who else you got? Brian Hill going on loan. That's the one which I'm not too happy about. He's a very talented boy, but he's built like an under 16 player, and loaning him back to Spain is not going to get him used to the country really. Another player on the list that most wouldn't have heard of would be Dylan Marcanady. He was one of the best players in the whole under 23 Premier League. I think he's second top scorer. I think he was player of the month twice this year. There was no gateway to the first team. He wanted to play first team football. He refused to sign a new contract. So we sold him. So that tells you how difficult it is for clubs, every club, to break in when the pressure's high at top clubs. And unfortunately for him, he'd done a hamstring on his debut for Blackburn and he's out for 3 months. But anyway, so we shifted all that. If you add the wages saved there to the wages saved from the summer, because obviously we've been letting these big high earners go. The ones that have come in aren't on quite as much. So in the summer, we stopped paying Gareth Bale's wages. That was about $250 a week. We got rid of Toby Alderweireld, who's on about $150, and Lamella on $100. So we're close. We're closing in on, even if you add in the new players what they're earning, about an $800K a week saving in wages from last season in the 2 windows.
Wow.
Okay, so again, that tells you how COVID is. It's a wake-up call. Do you know what I mean? I think United have released a few on loan. That's just money saving. Arsenal have let 9 or 13 go, and they've got a couple of unheard Americans. It's trimming the wage bill. These huge clubs with massive revenues coming in. It's not as simple as just buy. Anyway, that's the boring bit. We've got 2 new lads in. When I said about, I was a bit concerned we were going for that when it went to Liverpool. This Kula, I've forgot his name himself now, Kulusevski, is it? We were linked to him for about a month. So I did a bit of research about a month, 6 weeks ago. He's a very talented winger, sort of reminds me a bit of Gareth Bale, but about his lightning speed that he used to have. Got a trick. The other lad, 3 years ago, he was Juve's best centre midfielder. They're both only 21 and 24. I've read in a few proper places that Conte's very happy with them. They are players that he wanted. Obviously, it's a bit lazy by Paratiki going back. He's meant to have all these contacts in world football, and all he does is goes back to his old club to pick them up. Do you know what I mean? So we were linked to some player at Fiorentina on loan, and it's a bit like, that's a random one. Probably doesn't improve us. This one we've got from Juve, he's a far better player. I can remember him a few years ago running the show at Old Trafford in the Champions League. They were all part, because Juve have had a bit of a blip the last few years. They've sort of slowly gone downhill a bit. Obviously, Inter won the title there last year. I think this year they're only just above mid-table. So Juve have had a wake-up call that needed a bit of a reshape. Obviously, they bought Vlahovic, haven't they, from Fiorentina? So that was the biggie. But I think the key with these 2 players, which is very promising for Tottenham, they both thrive when you play a back 3. When Benetech, when he plays in a midfield 3, he's at his best. Bear in mind, this centre midfielder, he's been starting every week for Juve right up to last week. I was told he was a man of the match for AC Milan last week. So he's been playing every week in a midfield 2 when he's suited to a 3. The winger we've got, he can play in a 3 or a couple behind the striker. So they suit the system. They will suit Conte. The massive downside is we still didn't look after the key area. We're very, very weak at right wing back. We have one that's very poor and one that's unsuited to it, who's sort of a makeshift. You moan about West Ham. When do you think the last time Tottenham bought a striker? Have a guess. What year?
Go on, Josh. Have a guess.
know they got that Vinicius on loan last season, and that was on loan. And I can't think of any. I wasn't into football before Harry Kane came, so I don't really know.
That tells you how far we're going back. If Josh wasn't into football then. The last striker we actually bought was in 2017, and it was Diego Llorente from Swansea. So we still got no back.
I think to be fair, that's the perfect sentence to end it on. The last time Spurs bought a striker was 2017. Josh, a rating for Spurs' window. You've been enlightened with what Sean's got to say, and what are you going to give Spurs as a rating?
Well, just to say first, I was into football in 2017, but they haven't signed, obviously, like a striker that's going to play most weeks before Harry Kane. But as for a rating, I think the signings aren't too bad, but the outgoings, I don't think, were too good. The Celso, like you said, I think he's fell out with Conte, and that's why he's gone. But I like him, he was a good player. And on Villa as well, I think it was right for him to go, but probably not on loan because of the money you paid for him. And I have seen something in him, like this season and last season. He was a lot better than it was the first season, but apparently that Morecambe game in the cup, he was awful. But when I've watched him, he has been all right sometimes, but obviously not for the £60 million player. So it's a tough one. I know that Benteke, who you got Villa were linked with last weekend, but obviously you got him instead. So two good signings, I think. I'd say 7, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.
Go on, give it a 7.
Two signings were solid.
There we go. Right there, we're going to finish off on Spurs. A quick fire rating, Sean, before we move on. What are you giving Spurs?
It's my club, so I'll be a bit harsh. Happy with the ins. I'm actually very happy with the outs. It's just difficult. How do you sell a 60 million player who shows no ambition to get fit? How do you sell him? You just got to let him go. So I'll give us a 6. But I'm quite happy. Conte's got the right men who know the system. They will work their socks off for him. So that's positive in itself.
There we go. Lovely stuff. Let's take some comments then. Let's scroll up. I know. We're going to get onto that in a second, Paul, because West Ham is next. So stay tuned. Zapata was a done deal, apparently, but we couldn't get the paperwork done. Lol. Exactly. Jack Clark was fantastic. He's moved to Tottenham. Too easy. 7 for Spurs. They still got to pay for the stadium. Here we go. You've got me that excited. Trev Tube. Spurs window with a strong Italian coffee causes a big clear out, leaving you feeling fresh and new. Obviously, some incoming too with a buzz and new energy. 7.5. Right then, I hope we've got it ready for West Ham because it's next. Start typing that up, Trev Tube, because we are getting on to West Ham. Fresh Fielder, hope you're well. Peach, hope you are well. Even though I missed the deep depression, you haven't. Just in time, James. We're going to get onto it in just a secondo. 7. It's like Jake and Josh have aged 3 years in the last 12 months, feeling old. Well, there we go. Apologies, James. If that's put a dampener on your day. Right, let's get into West Ham. I'm going to have my little say now. I've listened to Sean and Josh talk about the rest of it, and now it's my time to just let go of everything. Extremely disappointing in for West Ham. Obviously no signings, no bodies coming in. We've got rid of 3 players: Connor Coventry on loan, Joseph Lang on loan, and we've sold Frederick Alves to Brondby on a permanent transfer. So nothing really to note. It's really frustrating because I just wanted us to show some intent early on with the likes of Lingard. Now we know Lingard wasn't our fault, so putting Lingard to the side, that wasn't our fault. I'm still just disappointed and angry that we couldn't get anything done. We're putting in stupid bids for Rafinha and Calvin Phillips for £450 million, which we know are going to get rejected, and we can't stump up £15 million for Coletta Cahart, a centre back that we desperately need, because we're now back to square one with 3 centre backs. You know, if Zuma gets injured, or if Diop or Dawson get injured at Kidderminster next week, that means we're down to 2 centre backs again. We're back to the bad place that we were at. And because Antonio's still got one game to play for Jamaica, if he pulls his hamstring in that game, we are done. We are completely done, because we didn't bring in a striker. We sold Sebastian Haller on the 12th of January 2021. We've still failed to replace him. God knows why. Ask David Moyes, not me. I haven't a clue. It's just so frustrating that I get the feeling that Sullivan was trying to direct the blame elsewhere by putting in bids for the silly players like Phillips and Rafinha, which are fantastic players, but we're just not going to get for the price that we were putting there. And now we're going to hear, oh, well, we put bids in for players. Yeah, you put stupid bids in for players. We tried to get a striker in from Benfica a day before deadline day, which is silly. We've had all window to do this, and we do it the day before deadline day, which they're never going to accept because they haven't got time to get a replacement in. Absolutely stupid. And it just whether it's Moyes, it's not Newman. I don't lay blame on Newman. I lay blame on Moyes. I lay blame on Sullivan, and I lay blame on Golden Kretinsky and whoever else is in that boardroom. Because we needed to get bodies over the line. This is the best position we've been in my lifetime, and in a lot of people's lifetime for West Ham. And we haven't spent a penny this window when we needed to spend money, and we didn't. And it's really, really frustrating. And breathe. Right, Josh, it's your turn. Anything you would like to add or say from your perspective?
I don't think so, to be honest.
Fine.
All the players who you got out, I'd never heard of. Probably just youngsters. So, and obviously never brought anyone in. I think you said it exactly right, really. Yeah, absolutely nothing to add on.
Give us a rating, Josh.
I don't know, it'd have to be 3 or 4 because
that's generous.
You've not done anything, have you? Maybe you've loaned out a few youngsters who could do with being loaned out. And that's it. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Sean, a rating?
Oh, I've got to have a little bit of a say first, don't I?
Okay.
Well, again, I know I've covered it the whole show building up to this about lack of money, and I think Simon Jordan on TalkSport sort of called out. Was it Sullivan? He called out about phantom bids.
Yeah.
Do you sense there's a bit of that going on again? Maybe?
Oh, 100%. There is. Hang on. I'll just say this and then I'll let you speak. The one reason and one reason alone that we put in silly bids for Rafinha and Calvin Phillips is so that David Sullivan could go on TalkSport with his mate Jim White and go on there and say, "Oh well, we tried. We put bids in for players." Ridiculous.
Yeah,
go on. Sorry.
I can relate to that, mate, because my own club's been there and done it. Like last summer, it was like, £60 million for Martinez from Inter Milan. Then fans think, we can spend 40 million with that 60 million we had, but then that 60 million goes missing. It's commonplace. Clubs like to drip stuff into the press. No disrespect to West Ham with these, the two Phillips and the Rafinha bids to Leeds. I don't think either of those players would swap Leeds for West Ham for various reasons, and I'm surprised they haven't done a bit of research. Phillips is probably never going to leave Leeds. He's a Leeds boy. If he leaves Leeds, it'll be to one of the very elite. I think Rafinha, he might sign a new contract, which will have a buyout clause of probably about 100 million. So that's West Ham will know that's going on. They're not daft; it's common knowledge. And his agent is Deco, the former player, who also looks after all the Brazilians at Liverpool. So if he's going to go anywhere again, he's probably not going to go. He's not going to go to West Ham, which I know Leeds are a bit below West Ham at the moment. But I think if you ask a Leeds fan, especially, they most see that as a bit of a sideways move. Do you know what I mean? So I think most people would, especially the players. But the other foreign lads you've gone after, I do wonder if they were genuine bids. would they have been? Do you know? I keep saying about these sort of strange sort of bids we've got to go for nowadays. Like you put in a 30 million bid for this Benfica forward. You don't. Maybe it was something pathetic like 5 million up front on a loan. We'll pay you 10 million. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the sort of bids that clubs have got to do at the moment just to get the next couple of years out the way. So you may have had a bid. It looks good in the press, 35 million pound bid, but unless you really know what spare money you've got going about, it's hard to really judge the deal. I think West Ham probably are not in a position where they can take a 15 million pound gamble on a championship player, which like a Bowen, for example. It's a gamble. I don't think there's a lot of money about to take gambles. So looking across the market for West Ham, it looked tough for your lot. I don't know why you didn't take one of these centre halves that's not getting it a game, maybe at Liverpool or one of these, or a Chambers. They haven't got to play. I know Josh couldn't understand the Callum Chambers deal from Arsenal, but I think Villa's weakness has probably been even Mings at the back. I think it'd been a bit iffy looking at the back. So even if you've got an extra body there, if someone's having a shocker, they're there. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes if you said you've got 3 centre halves or 4, you play a back 3. There's no pressure on those centre halves to perform then. If you've got a body you're training with week day in, day out, it's just that odd bit of pressure. So I know you want a striker, but if you could have got maybe another centre half in on loan, that, I don't know. I'd be disappointed you didn't get a centre half. Strikers are hard to come by unless you've got money. And if West Ham got spare money at the moment, not many teams that.
God knows. Let's take some comments then. Cancer 0 for West Ham. Inept, complacent window, and we should have pushed forward. We could have made history this season. Now we will stand still and maybe lose Rice and Bowen due to this. Bang on. Right, here we go. Trev Tube says, sadly, West Ham was food poisoning -1, so much lined up, but it never made it down in time. Stomach slammed shut. It all came back up, leaving us deprived of essential nutrients. I'll tell you what. Fair play, Trev Tube, tonight. They've been world class. The comments have been world class. 10 out of 10 for the WHWW West Ham wind-up window. Bang on. But we have made one signing, though, Sean. From Newcastle to West Ham United, from the Toon to East London, it's the tea lady. Look at that, look.
Oh, she's got a lovely perm.
Right. We'll leave that there. My rating, I'll tell you what, I'm not even going to give a rating because, quite frankly, I don't want to. Sean, are you going to give a rating?
Right, I'm going to keep this as short as I can, but I want to cheer you up, Jake, before I let you go, okay? I would say there's 4 clubs going for the 4th spot, would you say? 4 clubs? Yeah, probably. Roughly. Okay, yeah. I give Tottenham a 6. I think we've done quite well, but we're left with a squad of 19. That's quite a small senior squad, okay? West Ham, no one's gone, no one's come in. So you're how you were in December, and you've done well so far. Okay. Man United, they've lost 3 forwards. Less said about Greenwood, the better, but he's not kicking the ball again this year.
No.
Okay, they got rid of Martial early on, and then they've got rid of Van der Beek. Okay, so if I'm a Man United fan, I'm more unhappy than I am if I'm a West Ham fan. They brought no one in. Do you know what I mean? They're weaker. That's 3 options. It sounds bad, but they probably got no choice but to use Lingard more now. And the only reason they kept Lingard is because they were down to the bare bones of what happened with Greenwood. So they've done worse than West Ham. And if you're an Arsenal fan who are also going for top 4, Aubameyang, they've already fallen out with him. I think they've got rid of 9. Bear in mind, Arsenal were shipping out players the same week they were cancelling games with COVID. You know what I mean? So I'm not being funny. The Maitland-Niles went. I think they've got rid of 9 or 30, I can't remember. Their squad's down to the bare bones. They get a man sent off every other game.
Just to add to that, though, Sean, we've got a squad of 13 players.
You have not. You have not. You've got to count out all of them. But do you know what I mean? I know you're annoyed you got no one, but you haven't had a clear out for wages, which I think even Man United, I can't understand why they would. I know things at United, I think everyone's fallen out with the manager a little bit, so it's pointless keeping them. But why haven't they got someone in? You know what I mean? This is Man United. They got silly money. Well, why haven't they got anyone in? Arsenal, well, I'm glad they called the game off now, They called the game off and they're in uproar. And now they got Lacazette and he looks like an old man up front. Nketiah, I don't think he's good enough. That's their front line. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm an Arsenal or Man United fan, I'm more annoyed than if I was a West Ham fan. So on that basis, I'm going to give you a lot of 3.
And there we go. Before we come to Josh with his final thoughts, as you've noticed in the last few weeks, Isla is sat up in that top right corner. She will stay there, and we will continue to pay tribute to our little Isla. Rest in peace, Isla, and putting transfers to the side because they're irrelevant. In this situation, it's shown fan bases, it's shown the football world's come together. We've had more Millwall fans reach out, and more than what Millwall have done that all of the other clubs put together. Millwall have been fantastic, and I think it hasn't sweetened the rivalry at all, but it's put a bit of respect from West Ham fans on Millwall's name at the moment. So Isla will continue to stay there, and I just had to say that. Josh, any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Just on the transfer window, or on,
yeah.
I think no one had a 10 out of 10. No one give anyone a 10 out of 10. But I think there was a few teams who done really well. A few teams who, like West Ham, who didn't do, could have had a much better window. But yeah, I think if you want me to say who had the best window, I'd probably, looking at it all now, I'd probably say Villa. And I think even though we didn't get that seat holding midfielder, I think we just, out of all the rest, I'd say we had the best window in the Premier League.
Yeah, there we go. We are going to wrap things up. Sean, you've got 1 sentence to try and wind me up about our transfer window.
Conference League for you next season. How's that?
Now that has annoyed me. Right, comments. Don't even start. I'll tell you what, if we're in this, that competition we should just, from the Premier League, we should just send Spurs to that every year because it's just such a Spurs competition. But let's take some final comments. Jeremy says, great chat, Jake. Thanks all for your input. Give me 10th and the European trophy and I'll be ecstatic. Lingard in the summer and if we win the European Cup, maybe just one more year. Deck. Great show as always. Thanks all. Have a good evening. Trev Tube, legendary comments tonight. Thank you very much, sir, and everybody else in the chat. The support for the channel over the last 3 or 4 days has been incredible. We've had some new names coming on the transfer show last night, and we've had plenty of fun, despite West Ham doing absolutely zilch in the transfer window. It's been a fantastic show tonight. Sean, Josh, thank you very much as we've rounded up all of the transfer business that has been done in this January transfer window in the Premier League. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to West Ham Official. Sean, Josh, thank you very much. I'll see you in maybe an FA Cup roundup next week. If not, Premier League roundup back in 2 weeks' time. From me, come on you irons, and we will catch you very, very soon. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. And don't forget, Spurs aren't getting top 4. No way.